session, I am going to do extra slow movements and gonna be extra slow paced tonight. Tonight's theme is going to be shadow work and setting the intention into this energy healing session to get help with integrating these darker sides and the parts that we tend to avoid and that we're just kind of scared to face often. So I'm going to put that intention to kind of comfort us and guide us to just how to navigate through that journey that can be a little scary. And the movements tonight are going to be slower. I've noticed that in the last videos I did them really fast, which is just different. But in this one I'm going to focus on doing them slower and be more present with the energy. And if you are new here, then my name is Sunna and I am an energy worker, musician, artist, and these ASMR styled videos are usually always an energy healing session. I work with Reiki and just my own intuition. So know that this works as an energy healing session and works through your screen. And I also often have certain topics or some specific intentions. Although sometimes it's more of a general energy clearing. So you can put your own intention at any time. Now is a great time to do so as we are starting. And I'm going to light the Palo Santo once more. It's so thick that it is a little hard to keep it going for a while, so I have to light it again and again. So while I do that, you just get comfortable and set the intention. If you don't have anything specific, just to set the intention to receive and be open. if you don't know what shadow work is, then shadow work is what is talked about as the darker sides of us, or the avoided parts of our psyche. This can be there are of course some different opinions about this, with so many things, but most agree that it's the shadow behind the light, and that it is the part that is related to the subconscious mind, and those parts of us that are kind of hidden, and they come up if not integrated, if not worked through. It comes up in behavior, in anger or depression and anxiety and disease, or all kinds of different things. So yeah, things that are hidden, things that are not as easy to face, often people spiritually bypass, which is the extreme version of kind of avoiding the traumas, avoiding all the kind of symptoms of unresolved trauma. I guess that's our simple way to put it. So I'm just going to flow some Reiki to you while I keep talking. So yeah, before I start doing that, I'm just going to state out loud the intention that Reiki and all energies of the light contribute and help us through navigating on this shadow work journey, in whatever way anyone who's watching this is consents to or is ready for, and whatever intentions each and everyone has for themselves as well. And know that you don't have to say it out loud. It can be super it can boost the intention just because of the energy of the spoken word, but it is you don't have to. Yeah. Okay. So, and this time is actually really good for shadow work. Mars is in retrograde, and I was reading about it the other day because we were a few of us who were having this these darker sides of us were coming up, or we were experiencing just heaviness, and it can be so comforting to know that you're not just alone, going through this. And that's what is sometimes so nice about this energy of the planets, is that at least we're in it together. So comment below to tell me if you are if it is affecting you, for lack of a better word, if you are aware of the energies from the planets around us, and if you have been if you're into it, if you have been reading about it, and if you are on top of the game, ahead of me. I like, sometimes I am very on top of it, and I always know what's happening in the planets, and sometimes I get kind of sick of it, being like expecting to be at the effect of the moon or some planets or something. But it really like put things into perspective for me the other day, realizing that Mars is in retrograde. So essentially, what I read, I don't want to like say too much because I just read one article and I'm not an astrologist at all and didn't really do that much research. It was mainly to acknowledge all the energies that I was aware of. But so what I got out of it was like mainly that these parts of ourselves, even though we have been working through so much for the past years, and even though we've gone like so far and we have like healed some very big ancestral wounds and we have like expanded so much, this is a time when, because sometimes we just push certain things like really far back. So this is a time where that stuff is kind of just like coming to the surface, and that's definitely been happening for me. Let me know if that's what's been happening for you, and if it's nice to hear if you didn't know that this was happening in the planets. So comment below, let me know. So let's use this time. Let's not look at it as, like, oh, okay, now I have to, like, I don't want to go, to those emotions. I don't want to go back to that time. Or let's be aware of not being triggered by the triggers, or being triggered by, remembering, because this is very important, because you are in control. If something happens out of the blue that triggers you into a trauma, okay, that's one thing. But to know what is coming up, what you are remembering, or let's say that there's some memory coming up, and it like was during the time where you were always, triggered a lot, or you didn't know how to handle these emotions, or you didn't know how much of them were you being aware, how many of them are not even yours, and that a big part of it is ancestral. So it's so real. It feels so much like your own trauma, but really it is maybe from your grandma or something like that, and they weren't ready to heal it, they couldn't face it, and you are. So it's so important to acknowledge that. And if you're going through something and you have this hunch like, this like reminds me of mom, even though it hasn't nothing to do with your mom, trust that. That is your awareness telling you, hey, this, it might be awareness saying that, hey, this is actually my mom's trauma, and now I have chosen to integrate it and finally heal it, and not making it significant, like, oh, I'm this, like, this powerful, whatever, who can, my mom wasn't powerful enough. Nothing. Let's not go into any definitions like that. It's just a choice. It's just choices and you have chosen to integrate it, acknowledge if you have an awareness of that. Ask yourself, oh, is this, my mom is popping up. Is this maybe my mom's trauma? And trust that if it lights up for you, if it's light, if you get tingly, anything that is lighter, easier, some kind of a yes, trust that that is what is happening. And so I always go into a story within a story into another story. So that's my ADHD, one of my superpowers. So I'm gonna go back to the original story. So even though you were in that place, in that memory, or the time period is kind of, you're aware that it's resurfacing, whether it's like a visual memory or just not visual, just any, however it is coming up for you. And that was a time possibly that, you weren't as aware as you are now. You had a lot more shit, a lot more yuckiness, a lot more heaviness, loneliness, depression, anxiety, possibly. So even though that is coming up, and a time when you were just in a constant triggering state, maybe, or this is an example, then be aware not to get triggered by that. Okay, so stop it in the tracks if it happens, and just know that you have the power to be just present with what is coming up, and nothing more. There's nothing else required here. What is required in shadow work is to be present with whatever we couldn't be totally present with when it was happening. And that is like, it's really don't be hard on yourself for not being able to heal it when it was happening. Like, hardly anyone can. When we are in the middle of trauma, it is super intense, like you probably all know. And the natural thing to do is to suppress it and just be kind of like, just cope. And that's okay. And now you are strong enough. You are aware enough. You have what it takes to be present with it. So now let's talk less. And I'm going to channel some Reiki to you. And if you want to get extra much out of this, then I suggest practicing putting down your barriers and expanding your energy 360 degrees. And if you know me, then you've probably heard me talk about this before. And we can look at everything that stands in our way when it comes to thoughts, feelings, and emotions as barriers. So you can just see them as waves, for example, and just practice putting them down and notice what it is that is keeping you in resistance. So if it is your mind, then just focus on putting down your mind barrier. If it is some kind of emotion, then focus on putting that emotion barrier down. Without defining it like, oh, this is an emotion barrier, nothing like that. Just see everything as a barrier and just push them all down. You don't have to think about any specific ones. So like the wave, just push them down. Perhaps with every exhale, push them more down, and then push them even more down. And they can be all over, like behind you, below you, above you, in front of you. You can do this continuously, while you're receiving Reiki, if you just want to receive even more. And know that the Reiki energy is supporting us with working through this more difficult period, with shining a light on the shadow so that we can be light always, so that we can be our purest, most magical selves, with nothing hiding behind us, nothing creeping up when we least expect it. And just relax, be in ease, be in joy and glory. And I think I started to talk about spiritual bypassing and didn't finish the story. I think I went into another one. So spiritual bypassing is when the extreme way of totally avoiding all the heavy, of integrating all the heavy stuff. And that can look like, like just, these are often people who are doing a lot of spiritual, or in the spiritual community, like doing all the positive affirmations, doing the yoga and all the love and light, and not like refusing to see, and maybe most often like unknowingly refusing to see the things that are unresolved and that are causing something that is not desirable. So, and then there's also the other polarity, or the other side spiritual bypassing, and that is, now I don't remember what it's often called, but it's some kind of like indulging in the negativity and the drama, and that can often happen, when we start having the courage to dig into all the trauma, and we get like such a relief, and we get such a high out of releasing and crying and integrating, and then we could just kind of stay in the story and the drama, and this happened to me and that happened to me and I'm broken, and kind of just enjoy being there, and there's like I have been there to be honest, so please don't feel embarrassed if you are there or have been there, but that does not usually does not end well, as you probably know. So that's also what I wanted to do with this session, is and this video was to help us find the balance of not avoiding but also not indulging. So I'm pulling out this stuff you can't see, but I'm working on the lower part of your body. And the tripod and the camera is your body, the camera is your face. It kind of works as a circuit, and there are a lot of you who are storing your traumas and your unresolved abuse and unresolved, let's just call it unresolved trauma in your belly. So just being present with it, which really does magic. So don't overcomplicate healing work or shadow work, any kind of healing, consciousness, any kind of work like that. Being present and having the intention, it goes a really long way. And being willing to be honest about everything that being willing to be honest with ourselves about what it is that needs to be, or that that we haven't been looking at or have been avoiding. Be willing to finally just look at it, and it's never as bad as we think. And working with subtle energy, like I am doing now with you guys, I am bringing up a lot of words, talking, but also I'm just working with energy, so that can help us so much, just to stir it up, and especially to stir up the parts where we have locked traumas in our body. We lock so much, most of the time when we have unresolved trauma, it is we keep it hidden somewhere in our body, and we can see it often on how just tension in the body. Sometimes people, some people keep it in their lower backs or in their hips, and you can see how they walk. Some people always keep it in the tummy, have the anxiety knots. Some people have heaviness over their chest, and many other things. to share that I'm finally got to use our good camera again. If you can notice, if you've been following me for some time, my last 3 videos were filmed on our other camera because I ruined the charger for the battery and had to wait for it for like a month because of some mix-up in the deliveries. So I finally have it, and it's just so much fun to see how amazing the quality is. And if you are curious, then I'm using a Blackmagic Cinema Pocket 4K camera. I love it. But yeah, let's go back to the session. So, as you know, probably, if you've been following me, then these nutshells are just, they're just, the sound is so soothing, but it is also a sound healing energy work tool. And it's really a big contribution in just stirring up all the inner, energy field, bunch of stuff that is lingering and just ready to go. I'm allowing it to go to the places of your body that it wants to go. remember that when things come to the surface like this, it can seem so real and like we're just going back like 10 steps in our journey. And we have to remind ourselves while that is happening that that is not true, and that you actually cannot go backwards. I like to think of it like a spiral. So if you look down on a spiral, then it can be like an illusion of like it's just a circle that you know, just if you do this, you just go, kind of the same circle over and over again. But if you look at it from a different perspective, you can actually see that it's more like a ladder, like a spiraling ladder, that you start down here, but when you so you start here, and even though you're getting like back to this angle of it or this side of it, you're above it, and you've never been up here before, and you're not going down there again. You're only going up. So if you get that lie in your head, like, oh, okay, I guess this was never healed, and now I'm just, like so many steps backward, I'm just back here, and I thought I was, more healed, or I thought I was in a better place, but it turns out that I'm just the same person I was 10 years ago, or whatever lies are going on with that. Acknowledge it and catch it in its tracks. And remember the spiral. It's just an illusion. It can seem like we're going backwards, but to be able to get to the next level, we have to revisit, because let's say that last time you were in the circle below, last time you visited that part of the circle, you healed a lot of that specific thing, maybe 60%. And maybe that felt like it was totally healed because it changed so many things. But really, there was still stuff left to be integrated. And that is like very normal. That's usually how it happens. And that's why now it's coming up again, because now you're actually in a space where you can heal the rest. Like, how amazing is that? You couldn't have done that in the last step. So that means that you're moving forward, you are expanding. So just, even though in the moment it is so real and we are so convinced that it's just exactly how it was, these years ago, but really, because everything is better, then it does seem as heavy. But in retrospect to how way heavier your life was then, it was this thing that you're healing and that's coming up again was probably way heavier. But now it's like you don't have that heaviness to compare it to anymore, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to allow Reiki to flow some more, and then I'm going to sing a bit. since it is pretty late in the video that I am bringing up the singing bowl and my voice, that I'm hardly going to play it. I'm hardly gonna sing. I'm gonna be as gentle as I possibly can. So let's see how it goes. Sovðu ástin mín, já, og regnið grætur. Mamma geymir gullin þín, gamla leggja bölskrín. Við skulum ekki vagum tímar nætur. was our video tonight. That was our, or my, my kind of, my favorite kind of healing session, when there's like a mixture of music, energy healing, philosophy, or like psychology, and warmth and comfort. Let me know how this, or if this helped you, and I'd love to know about what you were going through. So please leave a comment, and if you haven't subscribed, then subscribe for more videos like this one. Have a relaxing and beautiful evening, morning, day, wherever you are in the universe. And I'm sending so much healing to you, and just I know you are strong enough to go through whatever shadows that are wanting to surface. They're only surfacing because you are strong enough to face them. Until next time.